going on, Tube Nation? Tony Tubes coming back at you, and today I get to review, spoiler alert, a good movie, The Martian, starring the Matt Damon. I like Matt Damon. Matt Damon's really, he's a solid actor. You know, there's not much stuff that you can say Matt Damon was terrible in, or he was in this terrible movie. There's not many of those, so good job, Matt Damon. I like sci-fi movies and stuff like that. But first, before we get into it, check this out. Watch this. Isn't that awesome? Look at that. Look at that. Look what I got. Look what I figured out how to do. Awesome, huh? So anyways, yes, we are talking about The Martian. And I have to say, for a sci-fi movie that felt a lot like Castaway, had sex with gravity, and it got The Martian. And that's just how it felt. Not saying it was a bad movie at all. Both of those movies were really good. But that's just kind of how it felt. Castaway, coupled with gravity, sounds about right? So, really great performances. My wife and I had a really in-depth discussion about the movie before I saw it and everything, about just kind of the mental state that somebody would be in, during a time like that, and being alone like that for so long, and having to do a lot of really hard work and just, really stressing your mind as well as everything else. And the movie didn't really cover that as much as I had hoped. And, and this isn't going to spoil anything for anybody, but, so throughout the movie I'm kind of just sitting there waiting for it, because he uses humor a lot just to kind of get himself through. And that's more of the angle that Ridley Scott took it, was, the humor aspect of it. And, but there's a scene at the end where, in my eyes, it all pays off. He starts, and this isn't going to ruin anything, he starts crying heavily, and you can just see it all pour out of him right there. And throughout the whole movie, he was pretty well reserved, and he really kept a good head on himself. But then, there's a moment at the end there where he lets it all out, and you can just see it all pour out. And that was an amazing scene, starring the Matt Damon. Ridley Scott's movies sometimes are a little bit boring for me, so I had to suspend disbelief and make sure that I was, up for anything. I really like this certain actor, and I'm just going to put his picture up there with his name. Yeah, see, that guy and that name, I've tried, and I just didn't want to butcher it, so I'm just gonna go, I'm going to pull a horrible bosses here, and I'm just going to say, I'm really sorry, but that name's a fucking nightmare, bro. But I love this guy. He's a really great actor, and I loved him in 12 Years a Slave, and he's been in a couple other things too. Off the top of my head, I can't remember him, but I really like him. He brings a certain kind of soul to everything that he does. He's very believable, and I really like that in stuff. And Jessica Chastain, still don't know what to think about her. I don't know. But the movie was solid, and it was scientifically, it was really cool. My dad had to explain one thing to me, and I was just, there was one thing I was like, well, what about this? And he was like, oh, but this. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But it was like, there was a scene where like a bolt tings off of his helmet, and the camera was shot from, outside of Matt Damon and everything. And you hear the ting, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's in space, you wouldn't hear the ting. And my dad's like, well, inside the helmet, he would hear that because it's the displacement and everything, of the air and stuff like that inside the helmet. So, yeah, he had to explain that part to me. But Sean Bean, out of left field, just kind of shows up in this good movie and everything. And, I have to say, man, like, I was just kind of like waiting for a light to fall on him, or for somebody to, run in there and just shoot him in the face or something. Like, he dies in like every movie he's been in. So it's just kind of like, you just, anytime you see Sean Bean, you're just kind of waiting for the inevitable. He wears a red shirt, man. He wears a total red shirt. Let's get her picture up here really quick. It was nice to see Kristen Wiig out of her element. She always, in movies, she always plays this kind of dry, people and stuff, and she looked normal in this one. She wasn't trying to go for the humor aspect of it, and I'm not saying that she's not a funny lady. I think she is really funny, and some of her stuff she does get annoying, like Knocked Up. God, dude, I wanted to slap that bitch in the face and Knocked Up. But she's had a couple roles like that. She does a lot of that. She did a lot of that on SNL and stuff. But no, it was cool to see Kristen Wiig kind of get out of her element and do some acting in a really, really good movie that, she didn't have to rely on her dryness to put across a good performance, which I liked. I like stretching. So also I have to say, the score, it was very, and I've been on a really big Floyd kick lately. One night I was driving, I had to make that 40-mile trip to Aberdeen, and so I decided to take the Wall with me, and I listened to the entire Wall there and back, and I've just been in a Pink Floyd mood ever since, and I've been listening to the new Floyd album, the newest Floyd album that they came out with, the instrumental album that they came out. It was an album called The Endless River. Thank you. And in that, they used it for, they didn't use The Endless River, but they used music that was very, very similar to Floyd. It was almost The Endless River kind of meets Dark Side meets The Division Bell a little bit, in the ways of kind of their spacey stuff that they do. And so some of the music kind of reminded me of that, and so it was really cool, and it made it. I felt the space atmosphere more because of that. So that was a really cool aspect of the movie too. So The Martian, awesome movie. I loved every minute of it, and very suspenseful, on the edge of my seat. I should probably move back a little bit, but yeah, man, I loved The Martian. Loved it a lot. Very highly recommended. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 tube thumbs up. Really good movie. Go and check it out. I haven't seen Star Wars yet, but this movie has been the best movie of the year for me so far. Mad Max is a close second. Very close. I was divided on it, but I have to say this movie was better than Mad Max in the ways of just overall enjoyment and story and stuff like that. So, but not saying Mad Max wasn't fucking awesome, but Star Wars is coming, so we'll see. I'm guessing those are going to be my top 3 unless Star Wars completely Phantom Menaces all over our face. So that would be gooey and unfortunate. But yes, so check out The Martian. Go and see it in the theater. It's an amazing movie. When it comes out, if you're somebody who buys movies right off the bat, buy that shit. Make sure you check me out on Completely Unoriginal. We just recorded one today where we talked about The Martian a little bit, and I mentioned some of the stuff I mentioned here, as well as the possibility of Michael B. Jordan being Boba Fett. We talked about that, and Adam St. Paul had some complaints about my Avengers Age of Ultron review, so we could bicker back and forth about that. So check that out, and there's a link in the description below to Completely Unoriginal, my podcast. Hit me up on Twitter at TonyTubezer. It should be right here. Does it say it right there? I think it says it right there. But anyways, so yeah, check me out at TonyTubezer. Check me out on Facebook, Tube Review on Facebook. And make sure you subscribe to this channel. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I love comments. Have a fucking tubular weekend.
Tube.